Hello again, everybody. I'm Al Keck, and welcome to the Al Keck Show, brought to you by the Deck Bar and Grill. They're at Isla del Sol. Great food, great drink, great music. If you're heading on down to the beach or going to Fort DeSoto Park, it's right there on your right-hand side in that beautiful little mall. Check in, check out the food, the drink, the fun. You can't go any better than the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol. All right, the Bucs are learning about life with Tom Brady. Day 2 of pads today. And quite honestly, this is a little bit like, no, not a little bit. This is the Bucs version of Christmas Day for these Buccaneer coaches. Because on Christmas Day or during the holidays, if you get a gift, you take those gifts and you take it out and you play with it and you realize what you really have. Well, that's what's happening with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These coaches, especially these offensive coaches, are starting to say, listen, it's not just a Zoom call. It's not just talking about what Tom Brady can do with these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're seeing it in action against a fairly decent NFL defense on the field in practice, 11 on 11. And so far, in fact, yesterday, as you know, there's been so much talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and whether or not this offense will fit Tom Brady. And can Tom Brady continue to throw deep? Does he have the arm strength that he had before? Very early in the first workout yesterday against this Buccaneer defense, he goes deep. He drops a 60-yard bomb to Scotty Miller, and the Buccaneers were highly impressed. Well, now he's working that rapport with the likes of the other Buccaneer receivers. You're talking about Mike Evans. You're talking about Chris Godwin. You're talking about Gronk, as usual. He's already had that rapport. And, of course, you're talking about Cameron Breit. And the cool thing is all this is that the Bucs will have 3 solid weeks to really prepare this offense for opening day and the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints on opening day, really nobody else in the National Football League will have any idea what they can expect from Tom Brady. They've seen Tom Brady with the Patriots. It won't be the same with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've seen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. This offense won't be the same as it was with Jameis Winston. They'll use a little bit of everything. They'll take some of Bruce Arians' deep game, and they'll also use some of Tom Brady's quick timing passes, which have worked very well, especially with Evans so far in these early workouts. In fact, you talk to Mike Evans, and he says he feels like this is heaven on earth because of the rapport that he's getting with Tom Brady. Now, on the other side of this, think about the improvement for this Buccaneer defense, especially those young defensive backs. So young a year ago, they really had to grow into what they did at the end of the year, which is they became a fairly effective unit. But remember, most of these guys are last year were first or second year players. So these workouts in training camp for some of these young defensive backs working against Tom Brady and trying to stop these receivers by facing the greatest of all time, just play after play after play, day after day after day in training camp, is incredible experience for this defense. All right. Cameron Breit has been a major weapon for the Buccaneers at the goal line. 27 touchdowns in his 5 years as a regular for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's had well over 2,000 yards. When he's had an opportunity to play, he has definitely put up numbers. So he's hoping to use this training camp with Tom Brady to prove he can continue to be the man at the goal line. Joining us, Buccaneer tight end Cameron Breit. And Cam, I'm going to ask you the question that everyone asks you every day over and over and over again. What's it like catching passes from Tom Brady?
It's pretty cool, definitely surreal at first. That kind of being starstruck has definitely rubbed off at this point. He's definitely feels like not a regular guy, but just a regular member of our team. And we're thrilled to have him. Everyone's super pumped up, and it's been awesome working with him.
Now, obviously, now he's just a teammate, but
Right.
How is he doing with his offense?
He's doing really well. Learning NFL offenses is hard. There's so many different terms, concepts, things like that you have to do. And as a quarterback, you got to know everything. You got to know the blocking schemes, what the running backs, receivers, tight ends are all doing. And obviously that's going to take some time, but he's worked really hard. When we were working together in the off season, I think that was huge for him, getting comfortable with, our terminology and the way we kind of worked as receivers and tight ends. So although we didn't have OTAs, it really didn't feel like we missed out on too much during the spring, which was great.
That's got to be huge. But what was it like that first time you met him or got a text from him or talked to him on the phone?
Yeah, so he reached out to me and said, "Hey, this is Tom Brady. Give me a call." And I had to vet it for sure. I was like to make sure I was calling, the real Tom Brady. But the first time we threw over at Berkeley Prep, definitely was a little nervous, the first route. But as soon as I caught the first one, it's just football at that point. But he's a guy I kind of looked up to my whole career and really admired him. So it's been pretty cool being able to work with him.
Now, this was one of the top offenses in the NFL a year ago. Mm-hmm. Now with Brady, how will this offense work out? How will it look?
Yeah, I mean, last year we did do some really good things as an offense, but we also did some things, that weren't too good as well. Obviously, first and foremost, we're gonna have to work on cutting down turnovers, and we all know that it definitely didn't just fall on the quarterback last year. There was a lot of issues, at other positions that led to a lot of those plays. So just going to definitely have to minimize those. And that's something that the coaches have been preaching. And as long as we hold on to the ball kind of with the players that we have across the board as an offense, we know we're going to be able to do some special things. So that's kind of what we've been really focusing on so far.
As great as he was with the Patriots, he never had weapons like this. Will there be enough touchdowns to go around for everybody?
I think so. As long as we're winning games, as long as we're scoring points, everyone's going to be happy. But, especially when you got two guys like Mike and Chris, arguably the best receiver 1-2 combo in the league, that's going to open up a lot of stuff for a lot of other guys. So definitely going to be some good opportunities for a lot of players. But yeah, having Mike and Chris on the outside, I know Tom's pretty excited about that.
Now, you are a guy that everyone looks at the goal line. So now with Tom Brady, how do you think that'll work out?
Yeah, I don't know. For whatever reason, it always just seems like that's kind of when I've been used most my whole career, even high school and college. But I'm excited kind of with what we're going to be doing as an offense this year. Definitely going to be a little bit different than what we were last year. And so I think there's going to be some good opportunities for guys, working some different routes over the middle of the field, especially with defenses having to take away Mike and Chris. So not just me, but obviously adding Gronk, OJ as well. And some of the running backs are going to be presented with some new opportunities this year, which will be pretty exciting and I think it'll work well for our offense.
What's it like playing with Gronk?
It's great. I mean, he's just as advertised. Super fun to hang around with. Loves the game. Has a good time with it. Just a big dude, a beast, just super excited to add someone like him. And I think hopefully he's going to take our offense to the next level.
How focused is this team on keeping COVID out of the building?
Hyper focused, I'd say. It's something the coaches, had preached the minute we walked in the first day. Kind of with, the expectations we have as a team, we feel like the only thing that could potentially disrupt that is something happening that guys are going to have to miss games. So it's something that we're all taking very seriously, and it's something that we're all going to have to remain diligent on, even as we break camp and go into the regular season as well.
So that's something that is preached every day from the top on down, and some of the veterans as well.
For sure. it's preached throughout the day. You know, you got signs in the building, different requirements. We get tested every single day. And it's something that we're gonna definitely have to hold each other accountable to as well, to minimize as many risks as we can take when we're out of the building. Because when we're in the building, we feel like we're very safe with all the protocols and safety measures they put in place. So it's just going to be, you know, players making sure all the players are making the right decisions.
How nasty are those tests every single day?
You know, you get kind of used to it at this point. When it happens every day, you just kind of have to suck it up. But the testing has gotten a little bit better. I think they're not going as deep up there, which has definitely been a positive.
You open with what could be the game of the year against the Saints in New Orleans. They're talking a little bit, but no fans for this game.
Right.
Is that an advantage for you guys?
For sure. You know, New Orleans is definitely one of the hardest places to play, just with the crowd noise and the excitement there. As an offense, it's always hard when you have to go to silent count on the road. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with pumping in crowd noise. Hopefully they don't make it as loud as it normally is. It's definitely going to be a little bit weird because that's definitely a place I love to play, kind of feed off the energy of the crowd. It's going to be different, but hopefully that plays into our favor.
How about the fact they've talked a little bit? You know, Cameron Jordan was saying some stuff. How does that play with this team?
I honestly have no clue what he said. You know, I think a lot of us, we're just motivated enough on our own. You know, the expectations we have for ourselves. For me personally, I don't really care what someone else says. I'm focused on doing my job the best of my abilities. So I'm sure some guys will use that as fuel, but for me, I don't need that.
Go back to your days at Harvard. Was there ever a time when you thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to not only play in the National Football League, but I'm going to have success in the National Football League, and I'm going to end up playing with Tom Brady?
Definitely not. No, definitely not. Yeah, for me, I thought maybe I'll hang on to a practice squad for a year, delay getting a real job for a while. So, you know, I'm definitely blessed and thankful for how everything's worked out. And, you know, obviously now having the ability to play with someone of Tom's caliber, it's definitely awesome. And I definitely couldn't have dreamed that up.
Well, now you have a career in the National Football League. Where would you have turned? What would you have done if football didn't work out?
That's a great question. I'm not too sure. I interned one summer in college at a law firm, and all I learned is that I didn't want to be a lawyer. And then I worked a little bit. I had another internship at a hedge fund in Boston. And that was a little more fast-paced. I kind of enjoyed that. But I love football, and I'm extremely happy that I don't have to sit at a desk right now.
Well, Cameron Breit, thanks for joining us. Get back to work, and good luck against the Saints.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, Cameron Breit of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, he is one of those many weapons that is starting to work a rapport with Tom Brady in these early Buccaneer workouts. Once again, this is really the first week that they have had to work with offense, defense, in pads, anything that really looks like a training camp. And the Bucs will have this month to really do that, to get ready for that season opener, which today, and when you look at the way things are going with football right now in the National Football League, even though conferences like the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have folded up tents for this year, the NFL looks like it's going full steam ahead. The NBA is in playoffs. The NHL is in playoffs. And now the Major League Baseball season is well underway. The Rays are playing well. In fact, they had a 5-0 lead tonight at Yankee Stadium. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFL has shown that it has a definite plan. And when you think about the billions, with a B, billions of dollars at stake, you know they're going to find a way to push through. Now, they may start the season and have to, pull things back for a few weeks and then start up again. But you really get the impression that the NFL is determined to make this season go. All right. Let's check out some of the comments from the Keckers. And I have my producer here, Peter Blake.
What's going on,
how's
buddy?
It looking?
It's looking great. Lots of comments here. Let's go out to Yash. He says, the man, Al Keck, go Bucs. Milo Jackson says, I seen a report somewhere saying Gronk was having problems with the Florida Heat. Any truth to that? We talked about that last night.
Let's talk about that. And Bruce Arians said, here's the thing. He's in New England shape, okay? When you have workouts in New England, it's completely different than having workouts here. In fact, I remember my very first training camp with the San Diego Chargers. They were working out at a site called UCSD, UC San Diego, which is on the bluffs in La Jolla overlooking the ocean. And you are talking now, the hot temperatures there in the middle of July, 72 degrees. I mean, it was incredible, beautiful weather. When you come here, it is a whole different situation. So, yeah, Gronk may be dragging a little bit, but remember, he played his college football at Arizona Heat, Florida Heat, two completely different things. But the good thing is he'll be in shape by the time they have to take on the Saints, and that'll be indoors.
Absolutely. There you go. Let's go out to Alex Pate here. Let's hear it out. We have a season, and how about Tampa Bay Super Bowl? Going with that prediction, it's in the own backyard. Welp, Al. Old Jerry Jones is dissatisfied with Gerald McCoy.
Boy, I guess. And Kyle Keck's going to have this coming up here in a little bit. Again, he injured his quad yesterday. They thought it was a knee injury. They checked it out, and it was a quad injury, but still he was done for the year. Now, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, who thought that McCoy was going to be a key member of their defensive line, with that injury, they knew he was not going to be able to play this year. They cut him. They dropped him. So that contract is a 3-year deal that was supposed to be $18 million. It's gone.
Yeah, he lost $2.5 million on that also because it was a condition that was put in his contract. They discovered it. So
he'll still get $3 million this year,
right,
but it ends there. But as you see some of the talk, and again, Kyle will have more of this, but you see some of the talk coming out of Texas, you get the feeling that they may work something out here.
Yeah, probably. Well, all right, there we go. All right, hey, Al, what's up? Let's go Bucs. Mike says, or Rays talk either, even though we're up 5-1 on the Yanks. I'm pumped up. Johnny Dean says, where is everyone at? We're all here on the Al Keck Show live on Bucs Report. Eric Scott says, nothing but illustrious guest, says go Bucs. Eric again, man, Al should be the only person allowed to interview players. He brings the heat and gets straight to the point. Love it.
And who said that?
That would be Eric Scott.
Eric, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. More comments from Eric. We got, let me get a shout out there, Cam. You the man. Johnny Dean, Cam Breit, the hedge fund guru, laugh out loud. Joshua Cole Allen, just getting used to it. Eric Scott again. Oh, that was previously recorded. Whoops. And Lynn Knowles says, great interview with Cameron. Some other Keckers here. Allie Keck, who I think you know. What a great interview. Al is the GOAT. Joshua Cole Allen here. That was a great interview, Al. The Keck Army. And by the way, who do you got coming up next week?
You ready for this? And we'll plug this at the end. I've got Bubba the Love Sponge. And this will be an epic interview. I'm just going to tell you, it will be an awesome interview. And Bubba, Bubba has got that reputation. But I have literally never met a person that has spent time with Bubba that doesn't walk away and say, he's an incredible human being. He really is.
Yeah.
And as far as a technician, as far as a broadcaster is concerned, this is my business. He is second to none. He is phenomenal when it comes to being a broadcaster. So, you know what? It may not be an interview for the rest of you, but this will be simply for me because I'll have a conversation with him and ask him a bunch of stuff that I simply want to know.
There you go. Good stuff. Eric Scott says, how come I've not heard one word about Will Golston this offseason? Is that a good thing? I literally forgot he was on our team a few days ago. I think it's been quiet at this juncture. Awesome interview as always, Al. is an absolute legend, says Daniel. And you've got Austin Sam. Hey, Al, looking good. Is it Super Bowl or bust this season for the Bucs?
Do you think anyone feels that way?
Oh, definitely.
I think the
way.
country feels that way. I really do. Lynn Knowles was nice enough to make a comment there, and I want to bring her in here because, quite honestly, I've been drinking this, and she has helped me immensely. I can't begin to say how much better. I've been taking Prove It for 10 days, and it has helped me with my weight. It has helped me with how I feel. When you get to be up in age a little bit, your brain gets a little foggy, and you walk into your room and you say, why'd I come in here? Okay. And then you figure it out. And but with this stuff, I don't notice it. It puts you in ketosis, which for people that know anything about health say it's a very important thing. So let's watch this from Lynn. I had an opportunity to speak with her yesterday and brag about how well I'm doing on Prove It. Let's learn about feeling better and maybe getting rid of some of that COVID fat. Joining me is Lynn Knowles. And Lynn, I have to be honest with you. I've been drinking the product. I've been drinking ketones for 10 days. I feel better. My pants fit better. My shirts fit better. And I don't have that fog in my head. Obviously, I must be doing things right, right?
Oh, well, right, you are. Absolutely, you're doing them correctly. But you know what? This is pretty normal for everyone. And it is amazing energy and focus and mood, better sleep. I don't know if you're experiencing that yet, but that's awesome. And then the fat loss, it's a great side effect.
Let's talk about the ketones and why the ketones are so important and why they seem to work.
Well, you know, it's so easy. Ketones are really just a superior fuel source for our bodies and our brains. Now, every human being, when they're born in this thing we call the state of ketosis, meaning that we're being fueled by our own ketones that we're making ourselves. And, you know, as we've gotten older and as we go through life, we start eating a lot of carbs and sugars. And that starts taking over for fuel for our brain. And this is just our native fuel source. Ketones give us amazing benefits.
Now, I made the commitment. I want to do this for 90 days. If a person out there is watching right now and also wants to feel better and maybe lose some fat, what do they need to do?
Well, we like to keep things simple here, Al. So all they need to do is text your name, Al Keck, to the number 727-641-4284. And they're going to get me personally, and I'm going to help coach them just like you, guide them and give them all the information they need. I'd love to educate people on this. And you know what? If they decide they want to go on this journey with you, Al, I'm going to throw in 40% off for the first 30 days.
Okay, let's repeat that. They text Al Keck to 727-641-4284, and you'll give them 40% off?
I'm going to give them 40% off, and they're going to get all this great education and guidance as well, which that's free.
You're awesome. Thank you so much. I thank you. My belly thanks you. My brain thanks you. Let's talk again next week.
Al, you're very welcome, and I'll look forward to it. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing everything perfect. Those carbs and sugar cravings are going to go away even more and more. And next week when we talk, I'm sure you're going to have better things to report.
Lynn Knowles from Prove It. Once again, text my name, and the number is 727-641-4284. Again, you will feel better. You will drop some of that fat. And it's just a great way to go. I'm doing it for the next 90 days. And I'll be honest with you. Now, just because it's happened to me doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen for you. I can just tell you how I have more energy. I feel like I am brighter and ready to go. I just feel better with Prove It and Lynn Knowles. So again, text my name to get 40% off this first month at 727-641-4284. All right. A trivia question for you. Name the quarterback who has passed for more touchdowns in his career in the SEC and is the career passing leader, yardage-wise, in the SEC. And no, it's not Peyton Manning. No, it is not Eli Manning. It is not Matthew Stafford, but it is a Georgia quarterback. His name, Aaron Murray. And Aaron Murray was a superstar when it came to high school football in the Tampa Bay area a little ways ago. He won a state championship at Plant High School and got Plant rolling in a way to where it became one of the top high school football programs in the state of Florida under Robert Weiner. And the key was that he used a passing game and Aaron Murray to get that going. And Aaron Murray, who could have gone to Florida, could have gone to Florida State, could have gone to any of the Florida schools, could have gone to many of the schools in the SEC. He saw the opportunities at Georgia and thought Georgia was the perfect place for him. After a record-setting career at Georgia, he went on. He was a draft pick in the NFL with the Kansas City Chiefs, played in the NFL as a backup for a few years, and of course, this last season was a quarterback for the Tampa Bay Vipers in the XFL. So he's got a fascinating story. I love talking to him, and here's one of my favorite high school athletes during my entire time in the Tampa Bay area. It's Aaron Murray.
Not many people can say that they have thrown more touchdown passes than Peyton Manning, than Eli Manning, than Matt Stafford, and doing that in the SEC. And joining me is a man that has done that, Aaron Murray. And Aaron, when you hear that, does that still mean an awful lot to you?
Right. Well, first I was very fortunate. You look at a guy like Tua Tagovailoa last year, and we all know the crazy stats that he was putting up at Alabama, or even Joe Burrow at LSU. And, those dudes only got to play for, 2 years, so I was very fortunate that I had 4 years to kind of grind it out a little bit, have my definitely bumps and bruises along the way. But to get those 4 years to compete, to play at the highest level when it comes to college football, to play for a great team, a great offense coordinator and Coach Bobo, and to have receivers like, AJ Green, that guy on the outside, you got 6'5", you're pretty much throwing at, I guess, a garage door opener, a two-car garage door opener. And he's just an absolute freak, along with a bunch of other receivers I had during that 4 years. So I still pinch myself. It is crazy. But it was a lot of fun, man. I had a blast, especially beating up on them Gators.
Now, I want to get to that in just a second here, but you played in the NFL, you played in the XFL, you played in the SEC with Georgia. What's cooler, being a starting quarterback in the SEC or being on an NFL team?
Oh, man, it's different. You talk to a lot of guys in the NFL, and obviously being in the NFL is the ultimate dream. I mean, when you're a little kid, you dream about playing for your favorite NFL team. Obviously, me growing up in Tampa was always playing in Raymond James, playing for the Bucs. That was the goal. So to make it to that point, to be on an NFL roster, like I said, was a dream come true. But the NFL it's different because of the fact that you can get cut and traded, and the rosters are changing every single week. So you don't always kind of build those relationships with your buddies. Where college is different in the fact that you're with those guys for 4 or 5 years. You live in the dorm rooms with them. You're getting a house off campus with them. You're going out to party during the off season. You're enjoying wins and grinding through off season training. Another thing different than the NFL, obviously, as soon as the season's over with, everyone is on a plane back to wherever they live in the off season. So you don't see them for 4 or 5 months, where, like I said, college, you see those guys for 12 months out of the year for 4 or 5 years. So those relationships you build, those friendships you build last a lifetime. Where NFL, it's a little different. But like I said, at the end of the day, the goal is always to get to the league, to play in the NFL as long as you can. I had a blast my couple of years in Kansas City, then 1 year in Philadelphia. But for me, obviously, I probably would say just because I had more success in college and it really didn't play much at all in the NFL, that I really, really enjoyed my 4 years in Athens. It's a special place. It's a great college town. And like I said, I had the opportunity to play in a lot of really, really exciting football games.
And you were the big man on campus. That's got to mean something in the SEC.
It's different. Being in Tampa, I mean, I guess it's somewhat SEC country, but it's not really the South. I don't really consider Florida part of the South. I think Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, the Carolinas, Mississippi. I mean, when you go from a Tampa boy who I grew up playing all the sports and obviously I watched a lot of the SEC games. I grew up going to a lot of the Florida games. My uncle's a Bull Gator, so he's a big time donor there, and pushed me really hard to become a Gator. Still holds against me to this day, but still love him. But anyways, I really didn't know what it meant to play in the SEC, to be a quarterback in the SEC team until it happened. And those people, and I'm one of them now because I live in Atlanta, take football very, very seriously. I mean, it is incredible. Just living in the state for obviously playing for the 4 years, and then my off seasons in the NFL, I'd come back to Atlanta to train. It's Georgia Bulldogs is one. I would say the Braves are two, Atlanta United's three, and then the Falcons are four. But I mean,
oh my goodness!
But from Georgia Bulldogs to Atlanta Braves is a pretty big gap. I mean, they take football really seriously here in the South. They take it really seriously, especially college football, and it just makes it really special. Just going around campus, just like a normal game day when you show up to the stadium, and there's 10, 20,000 people 4 hours before kickoff on what we call the dog walk, lined up in a line heading up to the stadium. You're like, these many people are here. And that's not even the other people around campus, hundreds of thousands of people around campus tailgating and in preparation for the game. So the amount of energy, and like I said, to be a part of that was really special.
Now, can you walk around? Well, let's see. When you walk around in Atlanta, or certainly on campus in Athens, I would think you're recognized a lot.
Yeah, it was fun. It was I wouldn't say it was tough. It was definitely pretty cool being the quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and lie about that. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I worked my tail off to make sure I was ready each and every Saturday. But it is weird now. I remember we were in Athens actually for my wedding. My wife and I got married in Athens a year ago, a little over a year ago, June 1st last year. And we were out the night before drinking and having some fun with everyone. And there were some college kids there. They were there for summer semester. And they came up to me like, "Hey, Aaron, can I get a picture? Can I buy you a drink?" And, they're 21. They're like, "Oh, I remember watching you when I was 10 years old." And they pull out a photo of when they took a picture of me when they went to a game day. And they were like, at my belly button. And now all of a sudden I'm looking at them eye to eye and I'm having a drink with them in a bar. I'm like, oh my goodness, how old am I right now? But it definitely is interesting walking around Athens when I do get back there, and even Atlanta, just because, like I said, it's just weird to see that these kids who, like I talked about earlier, that grow up watching Georgia football every single day. I mean, these kids that were 7 years old that watched me during my prime there are now, I don't know, like in a senior in college or senior in high school heading into college. And so if they see me around town, I'm like, holy smokes. Like I said, they show me pictures when they were at my belly button, and now we're looking at each other eye to eye. So makes me feel really old, but it's pretty cool that, I had some kind of impact on them in their early lives.
Now, we talked about your uncle. How is it that the Gators or the Seminoles didn't recruit you up? Did they recruit you, and how'd you end up in Georgia?
Yeah, they did. Florida State was out pretty much right away, just for a number of reasons. One, I wanted to play in the SEC, and two, they had EJ Manuel, one of my buddies, who committed to them the year before. So I was like, man, I'm not going to go there and sit. And I was ready to commit to Florida. I grew up, like I said, going to a lot of games, had a lot of Florida gear, and just it's a lot of timing issues when it comes to making a decision. I looked at the roster. They had Tim Tebow, John Brantley, and Cam Newton. So I walk into that QB meeting room. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this thing is loaded with QBs. Am I ever going to get a chance to compete and play? And I was really close with Dan Mullen, and still am very close to Dan Mullen to this day. And it was kind of written on the wall that he was heading out to take a head coaching job soon, and he did. So it kind of that we were preparing for that. So then you look at Georgia. Like I said, I want to be SEC. I want to be close to home. Georgia was coming off a great Sugar Bowl win. They were heading into the season, the number one team in the country. They had a great quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who was going to be the first round pick and first pick in the draft. But really after him, they didn't have a lot of quarterbacks. They had Logan Gray and Joe Cox, who was going to be a senior. But other than that, not a ton. So I looked at it as like, hey, I have an opportunity to play SEC football. I have an opportunity to play in a more pro-style offense compared to Florida's more spread, zone read. and get a lot of playing time. So it was a tough decision. Like I said, my parents, I think at the time were hoping that I'd go to Florida, make that trip a little bit easier than having to drive 6.5 hours to Athens. But it all worked out at the end.
Now, you were drafted by the Chiefs, and you mentioned played for them for a couple of years. You ended up playing for some other teams. But the fact that when they won the Super Bowl this year, did you take any pride in that? Did it mean anything special to you, or had there been enough time in between?
No, it's funny. I talked about earlier about Tampa being like my team, growing up watching the Bucs and when you get that call on draft day that the team's going to select you, it's such a special moment. It really is a dream come true. So for me, I will still always cheer on the Bucs. I'm really excited for this year, obviously with Tom down there and all the weapons he has, but the Chiefs always have a huge part of my soul, part of my body, my heart, everything. I mean, I absolutely love Kansas City. The people were awesome. Coach Reid is the absolute man. My family, at least my dad's side of the family, is from Syracuse. So I was a big Syracuse Orangeman fan growing up, or Orange fan, as they call themselves now. So Donovan McNabb was my quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Watched a lot of Don McNabb, and then obviously he went to Philadelphia. So I watched a lot of the Bucs, and I watched a lot of the Philadelphia because I like Donovan. So I got to see Coach Reid almost every Sunday, and I was a big fan of him. And the fact that I got to then go play for him in Kansas City was pretty cool, especially because his mind is just absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it when it comes to offense and scheming and getting ready for a game. So, man, I was pumped. I had my Kansas City gear on, and I was really excited when they won last year, and then even more excited for Coach Reid to get his first Super Bowl win, which was definitely long overdue.
Now, when you're facing an Alabama defense or an LSU defense, is there really that speed and that athleticism, is there really that much difference between that and the NFL?
Yes. And
really?
I would say more. Yeah, I would say more the complexity of the defenses. That's the difference. Just because you have more time to prepare, in college you have the 20-hour rule, plus you have classes. So these coaches know we can't overload you with, 20 different blitzes or a new blitz package this week. So when you would watch film, you kind of knew, okay, this is their base defense. These are the blitzes we're going to see this week. Maybe there's one or two wrinkles we may see, but this is who they are. This is their identity. Where the NFL, their identity was 10 times more, plus they had more time, obviously, during the week to scheme up a bunch of new blitzes, a bunch of new packages, and really mess around the personnel. So the speed, the size, the complexity of the defenses, and that just makes everything go by faster. I mean, maybe the players aren't necessarily that much faster because these guys are just moving from college to the NFL, but just how much more they can do. And that's when a quarterback's mind really starts to pick up, when all of a sudden they're in two high safeties and then they're rotating a single high, but they're bringing a blitz from a different side, or they're rotating the backside corner to become the safety. And it's just, there's just so much more that happens. So that's when the game really seems to pick up, just because of you're seeing so much more. So it really is, like they said, it is a chess match, and that's why the best quarterbacks are the ones that are the veteran guys. They've seen it over and over again. It's hard to stump Tom Brady. It's hard to stump Drew Brees, just because they've seen pretty much everything that you can kind of throw at them.
Now, obviously, you also played in the XFL with the Vipers. What was that experience like?
I thought it was great, and I'm excited that maybe it's coming back with The Rock purchasing it for an incredible deal a couple weeks ago. But I thought they did a great job. The ratings were tremendous when you would look at the viewership from ESPN and Fox. I thought the games were really excited. I thought they were competitive. I thought there were some great players out there that were definitely knocking on the door to get back in the NFL. And I thought that the new rules were pretty cool. The new kickoff, going for 2 points instead of the extra points, things like that, and other things to make the game a little bit safer for the players. So overall, it was to me a success. Unfortunate, just like a lot of other things in sports, COVID hit, destroyed it, cut it off short. But like I said, I'm hoping for a resurgence, whether it's this spring or in 2 springs, because I do think fans want football all year long.
And will you play?
No, I am done. I got a new baby, an 8-week-old. I'm loving my gig. I'll be heading to my 4th season with CBS, and loving calling games up in the booth. So really, for me, I would love to participate as an announcer, and maybe find a way to be involved if they do come back. The XFL does come back, and Tampa does have a team. Maybe I find a way to get involved with the Tampa team, whether it's in the front office or something along those lines. But to be able to maybe announce those games in the spring would be pretty sweet as well.
Aaron Murray, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate you taking the time. And personal note from me, I consider you probably the best high school player I've ever covered in the Tampa Bay area. So this has been fun for me.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
So Aaron Murray, again at Plant High School, really got that Plant program going, won a state championship after a serious injury. His senior year, he had a big junior season, had a senior year cut short by injury, but still came back and led this team to a state championship. From there, he goes on to Georgia, despite some family ties to Florida, and has one of the best passing careers in SEC history. Certainly the best when it comes to touchdown passes and career passing yards. And when you consider that was the college home of Peyton Manning, of Eli Manning, and they weren't in for 2 years and then out. They played full careers, and Aaron Murray had better stats than either one of them, including Matthew Stafford, also from Georgia. You're watching the Al Keck Show, brought to you by the Deck Bar and Grill in Isla del Sol. Again, great food, fun drinks, live music. I'm sure you've seen some of the pictures on social media over the weekend on Facebook. It's incredible. They do a good job of social distancing as well, but they have a deck. Well, that's why they call it the deck. But they have a deck that is just really cool, a great little venue on the water, and right on the golf course as well there at Isla del Sol. But the cool thing is going to be they will have upwards of 40 TVs once the NFL season gets going. So you're going to be able to go there and watch your Buccaneers and watch your favorite NFL team, period, and really enjoy with great food and drink. And our buddy Cedric Robinson is the best manager in the world. So go out to the Deck Bar and Grill and do yourself a favor and, just have a great time. All right, let's get the latest now from the National Football League. Kyle Keck joins us. And Kyle, there has been so much talk today about a former Buccaneer, Gerald McCoy, who was so happy to sign a 3-year, $18 million deal with the Cowboys, but that was very short-lived.
Yeah, and I mean, very disappointing to see and hear what happened today with Gerald McCoy. I know a lot of Bucs fans. Gerald McCoy is so near and dear to many Bucs fans with what he did in his tenure in Tampa Bay, both on the field and in the community more especially. But it came out today that he had that injury in, I believe it was practice yesterday. They thought it was originally a knee injury. They looked deeper into the issue, and it happened to be a torn quadricep. Now, with this injury, there was a injury waiver in the contract that he signed that was specifically if he had any sort of season-ending type injury to this quadricep, then he would have this injury waiver to where the Cowboys could release him and get out of the money that they would completely owe him on that contract outside of the $3 million bonus that he was due. So again, McCoy was due his $3 million bonus. He receives that. He will not receive anything else on his contract. Now, with this injury waiver, it makes you think that the Cowboys had to have some sort of prior knowledge to some quad injury during that physical when he first got to Dallas before he decided to sign with the Cowboys. Again, McCoy had plenty of injuries when he was with the Buccaneers, never had a quadricep injury. From what I've been reading, nobody ever had any idea that he had an issue with that quad. So clearly the Cowboys knew something from that physical.
Yeah, they saw it obviously in the physical. And again, going back to Gerald McCoy, 6 Pro Bowls. He's a guy that did so much for this franchise off the field, but was frustrating on the field in that so many times when you look for the Bucs to make that next step with McCoy leading the way because he was the so-called face of that franchise at that time, he was never really able to do it. And he was always compared to Warren Sapp because they played similar positions. But there just wasn't, he just was not able to take the Bucs, put him on his back, take him to that next level. And I know there are some that say, well, you know what, McCoy, when he first got there, didn't have any of the players around him like Sapp did. And I say wrong to that, because think about the first couple of years that Sapp was here. They got him with the number 12 pick in the first round, and we're very lucky to do that. And those first few years, this Buccaneer team was certainly not a playoff team. And, there's no comparison. Well, when you consider, there is no comparison between Warren Sapp and Gerald McCoy. Mm-hmm. That said, Gerald McCoy did so much for this community off the field and was highly involved. And I know some Buccaneer fans just expected more from him on the field. And I know he's got a very strong feeling for the Cowboys. He said all along the Cowboys have always been his favorite team growing up. So he was excited about the opportunity. You get the feeling that he will rehab with them, that he will be around this team and try to be a leader and maybe sign a new deal with them down the road. It won't be the 18 mil, but it could still be something to where he can be a part of the franchise. And if he recovers well, could still be a key member on their defensive line.
Absolutely. And it's already been reported that there have been talks between the Cowboys and Gerald McCoy, that there's mutual interest there for McCoy to rejoin the team in 2021 if, again, that rehab does go well.
Now, the Bucs open up against the Saints, obviously. It is a game that everyone has been pointing to since the schedule came out. This could be the game of the year in the NFC South. And from what I understand, Jameis Winston has opened eyes at Saints camp. What do you have?
Bingo. That's exactly it. So Jameis Winston reportedly, especially today specifically, he had a really good day at camp in pads, in one-on-ones, again, where the receivers are one-on-one with the cornerbacks. Had a really good day and reportedly was the best of the three quarterbacks there, which would be him, Jameis, Drew Brees, and Taysom Hill. So he's really been turning heads big time down there in New Orleans. It's been reported that he's already been a big vocal leader down there, which a lot of Tampa is used to, the kind of camaraderie that he would bring in the locker room and just kind of connecting with guys. Some of the feedback that we've heard from coaches down there in New Orleans is that they still see that he needs to improve on his ball accuracy and the turnovers. So he hasn't been, crystal clean with the turnovers down there yet. Still working through that, but it does look like the Saints are very well pleased with them being able to get Jameis in there on a cheap deal and hopefully have him there for the long term after this season.
And again, it was the cheapest of deals out there for just about any experienced starting quarterback in the NFL, just a little over $1 million with a bunch of incentives. But he wanted the opportunity to go there and learn for a year behind Breeze and with Sean Payton. And he's hoping to pull a Teddy Bridgewater, which would mean he would turn this into an opportunity as a starter someplace else and maybe a big contract from there. But Jameis Winston, very, very impressive, especially today during workouts with the Saints. Anything else going on around the National Football League?
Well, I think Jameis's new nickname needs to be Jameis Slimston. The guy has absolutely shed a ton of weight. He doesn't even look like the same guy anymore with how slim he is. So I think that that's going to help him be even more mobile around the pocket, being able to scramble out, which we saw a little bit more last year in Tampa. He was able to make a couple more plays with his legs. But sticking around with New Orleans, Andrews Pete, offensive lineman, all-pro offensive lineman there for the Saints. He breaks his thumb, has a hand injury, out 2 to 3 weeks. And there is no guarantee whether or not he will or will not play week 1 in that battle there in New Orleans against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So a big piece for New Orleans that may or may not be there in week 1, which only helps this defensive front for Tampa Bay.
And any offensive line will tell you how important hand play is. So for him to have a broken thumb, and may not be ready until right before the start of practice for that week. I can remember in your high school career, right after your high school career, you were getting ready to play college basketball, and you broke your hand in that summer. And it was tough for you coming back. That was in basketball. I got to imagine it's even tougher in football.
I can't imagine. I mean, it took me a while to be able to shoot a basketball again on that shooting hand. Not that I was much of a good shooter anyways, but for these guys in the contact sport, especially an offensive lineman, I mean, any sort of hand injury with how tough you need to be with your hands, being able to grab and then shove off, man, I can't imagine how comfortable that's going to be for him. And even, if he has to wear a club, again, that's less grabbing he's going to be able to do to control there at the line.
Once again, you're listening to Kyle Keck talking about the NFL on the Al Keck Show, brought to you by the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol. How about Washington? And I am fascinated by how Alex Smith has made it back from one of the most gruesome, horrible injuries and recoveries that you could ever imagine. It got to the point to where you really thought people in Washington and the Smith family was very fearful of the fact that he would be losing his leg, let alone trying to, rebound and put together an NFL career again. But he is really coming back in Washington to the point to where he's been cleared for practice with the Washington football team.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is some of the best news that I think I've seen in a long time, because what he had to do to overcome that injury to be able to get to where he is right now is absolutely, it's remarkable, it's admirable, it's inspirational. I don't know if you have seen, or if our viewers have seen the E60 that they did on Alex Smith's injury, and how gruesome it was, and what they were able to show on that. 17 surgeries. And again, with the thought of having to almost amputate his leg, the fact that he is even, close to being where he is right now is insane, that he can be back to full contact football. And it'll be interesting to see there in Washington what he's able to do. Now, I don't think that we are expecting him to come in and be the day one starter, and to even, who knows, he may not even play another snap because of just the fragility of the situation with his leg and the unknowns of what may happen. But more importantly, who was the quarterback that groomed Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City? Alex Smith. So let's see what happens with him and Dwayne Haskins there in Washington.
Even if all they do is they get him in uniform and he trots out for the first game of the season and simply takes a snap and takes a knee, and ends his career right there, it would still be something that would be a major movie in Hollywood when you look at that script. And if you get a chance to watch that, well, if you can handle the look of gross stuff, but watch that E60 documentary on this. It is eye-opening and incredible when you think about what he went through to make that happen. Kyle Keck, as usual, you're my man. You're a superstar, and thanks for bringing it tonight.
Absolutely. I love my Tuesday nights, so.
Great job.
Thank you.
Job. All right. Kyle Keck joining us from Chicago. All right. At the end of every show, I take the time to relay a story that meant something to me to kind of wrap everything up. And since we were talking about high school football in the Tampa Bay area and with Aaron Murray, I go back to my very first year in television and covering high school sports in Spokane, Washington. High school sports in Spokane are huge. And I remember I'm a one-man band in Spokane. So there's me, nobody else. And so when I went out and covered high school football one night, I go out, it's about 20 minutes out of town, shot a game, and come back to get to the car. And I had locked up the car, and I took a bad set of keys. It's now almost 10 o'clock. I got 20 minutes to drive to the station. I can't get in my car. I am panicking. I find a phone and call the station. No one's answering. Again, we're 20 minutes away with a car ride. And so I am desperate. So Back then, you're talking the late 70s, they had just gone to videotape. Back then, it was film, but I was shooting on videotape, and I'm trying to get into my car. So what do? No one is looking around. I take the recorder that was about this big, and it weighed about 50 pounds, and I put it through a back window, unlocked the car, jumped in the car, drove back like a maniac to the station. And as I'm pulling into the station, and it was very obvious as I had a back window that was punched out, as I pull in, there are engineers there putting stuff away for the evening, and they see me pulling in, knowing we've got the 11 o'clock news in about 30 minutes, and they see me, and they see the broken window, and I point to them, and I look, and I say, can you believe those kids at West Valley High School? That is the last time I go to a football game out there. And they never said anything to me. I'm the one that broke the window. I had to in order to get on the air. All right. With that, I want to thank our guests. I got to thank Cameron Breit, Aaron Murray, Kyle Keck, my producer, Peter Blake, Keith Larson and Bucs Report, and the sponsors, the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla del Sol, and Lynn Knowles of Prove It. I'm Al Keck, and we'll see you next week with Bubba. It'll be a great watch.